The team at Altura Learning have been hard at work developing a comprehensive learning package focused on supporting a deep understanding of the strengthened aged care quality standards. The 7 strengthened standards centred around better outcomes for the person, and a strengthened framework will provide effective guidelines for the organisation, the care and services you provide, the environment, the clinical care that older people receive, food and nutrition, and the residential community. The resources outline what older people and providers can expect, and they explain your role in ensuring compliance with the standards, tailored specifically for managers and care staff. The Strengthened Aged Care Quality Standards, available now on Altura Learning.
Good morning, I'm Paul Gowdy and thanks for joining us. We're broadcasting from our studios on Sydney's Northern Beaches today, and I'm speaking with our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshmeen Azam, to unpack what the introduction of the Strengthened Aged Care Quality Standards means for providers, not just in terms of compliance, but in reshaping the future of aged care.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning to everyone joining us. The introduction of the Strengthened Aged Care Quality Standards represents an important and timely transmutation for our aged care sector, and I'm genuinely excited to be a part of this journey.
So let's start at the top. These standards reflect a shift in the sector we haven't seen before, and from your perspective, what do you think they signal about the future of aged care, and are providers ready for what's coming?
We are moving from a task-focused model towards a deeper emphasis on relationship-based, person-centered care. As a clinician, I see this as an opportunity to truly embed clinical excellence, accountability, and safety in the heart of aged care. The new standards require a refocus from delivering on compliance to delivering excellent care for every individual, every day, and at every interaction, making this actually a cultural transformation and not just a change in standards.
And so, Roshmeen, in your opinion, do you think providers are ready?
The reality is mixed. At Altura, we are in regular conversations with providers across the country, and we are very pleased to see that with our multi-pronged support, many organizations are well on their way using these reforms as a springboard for innovation and continuous improvement. Others are still coming to grips with what this shift means, particularly in areas like governance, clinical care, and workforce capability. Now, we know time, resources, and workforce pressures are real and persistent challenges. Without question, chronic workforce shortages remain the biggest hurdle. While recent wage increases are a positive step, high turnover rates and skill gaps continue to place quality at risk. This is where Altura comes in. We are not just producing causes, we are building capability. We support providers with real-world learning mapped directly to the new standards, designed for every role within the care team, and we focus on the areas that providers actually tell us they need the most help in. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about a fear of compliance, it's about a genuine opportunity to reshape aged care into something more connected, compassionate, and clinically sound.
And that's a really good point you make, but when change is mandated, people do get anxious. Mm-hmm. So if we get this right, what's the real opportunity here? And I think also on the flip side, if we don't roll it out correctly, mm-hmm. how does a sector evolve or doesn't evolve? More to the point with these standards.
Now that's such an important question, because when change is mandated, especially in a sector that is already under immense pressure, it can, or should I say, it will feel overwhelming. And let's be honest, Paul, no one ever gets excited when they hear the 3 famous words, new compliance framework, right?
True. I don't think you'll see a standing ovation.
Exactly. Now, as someone who's spent much of my clinical career caring for older Australians, this feels like a pivotal turning point. And I truly believe that if we frame this moment correctly, we will see it for what it is. an incredible opportunity. We have a chance to enhance care environments that honor dignity, that support choice and recognize each person's individuality and lived experience. This is about more than compliance. It's about delivering safer clinical care, creating a more empowered workforce, and rebuilding public trust in the aged care sector.
I mean, I think that sets the scene very well. So what challenges do you see then in terms of harnessing this opportunity?
I believe that if we don't step up, we risk repeating the very failings that the Royal Commission laid bare. We risk falling short on safety, on well-being, and on the trust that families place in us every day. And at its worst, that means continued care gaps. That means staff burnout, regulatory penalties, and the erosion of dignity for the people we care for. I believe the stakes are high, but the opportunity to do something transformative is even higher.
Now, Roshmeen, as a clinical leader with decades of experience, you've seen firsthand where things can go wrong and where things can also be done better. So what do you think are the biggest capability gaps, and how should providers be responding now and not in 12 months' time?
Absolutely. And this is one that I reflect on often, having worked on the ground in clinical settings and also at the national level, both with the Department of Veteran Affairs and the Department of Health and Aging. Here I've seen just how crucial strong capability is in delivering safe and effective care. And also from what we're seeing across the sector through our work here at Altura, the biggest capability gaps can actually be put into three core areas. Firstly, it's around critical thinking at the front line. Too often, we see a reliance on task-based care without enough support for staff to truly understand the why behind what they do. Policies are often developed and approved, but socialization of the content is limited. And Paul, let me say, if I had a dollar for every time someone told me we've got a policy for that, but no one on the floor actually knew what it meant, I'd probably be calling in from a beach on Santorino right now.
I hear you. Policies are great, but they don't deliver care.
Exactly. There is a need to strengthen clinical decision making and risk identification skills, as well as escalation pathways, especially for personal care workers who are often the first to spot changes in a resident's condition. Therefore, to meet the new standards, providers must build frontline capability, as it is not just about having policies on a file, but about enabling critical thinking under pressure. Second on the list is communicating with confidence in difficult conversations. Whether it is about open disclosure, discussing deteriorating health, or managing family concerns, many teams still lack the tools and training to handle these conversations with empathy and clarity. This becomes even more critical under the new standards, where transparency and consumer involvement are front and center. And thirdly, engaging with those we care for in shared decision making. We are seeing significant capability gaps in shared decision making, respecting diversity, and holding culturally safe conversations. This isn't merely a nice to have soft skill. It's a safety, quality, and trust building imperative. So what should providers do now? Act early. Don't wait for the standards to become mandatory. Use this time to update and socialize policies, upskill teams, and foster a learning culture. Start by assessing your team's current knowledge and confidence against the new standards. Invest in targeted role-specific training that breaks down each domain into accessible real-world learning. Prioritize creating safe spaces for staff to learn, reflect and ask questions, and outline clear frameworks for involvement of the older person in their care. Ultimately, strengthening capability is about building a care culture where excellence is the norm. And that starts with equipping our people today.
I think that's really good practical advice. And what I heard you say is start now, because this isn't just about ticking boxes. So what do you think the real shift is that we need to see across both management and frontline staff for these standards to truly land?
Absolutely. This is not a box ticking exercise, and if we treat it like one, we'll end up with beautifully formatted reports and the same old problems. The mindset shift that we need is from compliance to commitment. At the management level, that means moving from asking, are we compliant, to asking, would we be happy putting our own parents in our service? That is the bar. When excellence in care becomes non-negotiable at the top, it shapes everything that follows. That's how a culture of quality takes root. And for our frontline teams, it's about understanding that these standards are not just abstract documents. They are about real people. When care workers see how their daily actions impact someone's dignity, safety, and well-being, the standards stop feeling like another task and start becoming a point of pride.
So can we take a moment to zoom forward? What does a high-performing, future-ready aged care provider look like in, say, 2027? Because of what they're doing now to meet these standards?
I think the real power of these standards lies in the long run. A high-performing, future-ready aged care provider in 2027 is one that doesn't just meet the standards. They use them as a catalyst to transform their entire approach to care. This is a world where person-centered care isn't just a phrase on the wall. It's the heartbeat of everything we do in aged care, where clinical governance is strong, risks are managed proactively, and decisions are based on data, evidence, and compassion. These organizations will be confident, agile, and deeply connected to the residents. We will see better staff retention, fewer compliance breaches, and better outcomes for our older Australians. We will have listened to the Royal Commission and responded with purpose. And most importantly, we will be trusted by families, by communities, by staff. That is the opportunity in front of us, and it starts with actions we take now.
So I'm very proud of the new content that we've already launched that's aligned to the standards, and we're focused on applying that to real life learning. What do you think we're doing differently to help providers move from theory to action, especially when their teams are already under a lot of pressure?
Here at Altura, we have been incredibly intentional in our approach to supporting providers, not just in understanding the strengthened aged care quality standards, but to live them out in practice. What sets us apart is our commitment to helping organizations move from theory to action, especially in an environment where time is scarce and teams are already stretched. That's why our approach to supporting the strengthened aged care quality standards is rooted in relevance, efficiency, and taking action. With regard to relevance, our content is grounded in the day-to-day reality of aged care. Whether you are a carer, a nurse, or a manager, we show you exactly how the standards apply to your role, using real scenarios and practical examples. For efficiency, we have created compact modules on the standards that offer short, focused learning in 10 to 15-minute bursts. And our entire library is matched directly to the standards, making it easier for providers to find what they need. To facilitate action, every course includes tools that drive change, such as reflection prompts, checklists, and team huddle guides, so that learning doesn't stop at the screen. It continues on the floor, in care planning, and at every level of leadership.
I think that's fantastic advice, Roshmeen. And at Altura, we've been helping providers bridge that gap by showing, not telling, and that's through the power of video. In addition to our course library, we've been working closely with providers through webinars and account support, and even teleconsults with yourself, because sometimes people just need to hear tailored advice, not just another resource. So in a sector under real pressure, we're proud to offer practical, flexible solutions, all grounded in one goal: delivering better care for old Australians. So let me finish with one final question. If you could give one piece of advice to a provider who feels overwhelmed by the change, what would that be?
I know how stressful reform can feel. I would suggest not trying to do everything at once. Start with one conversation, one reflection, one standard. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. And the truth is, no one expects providers to have all the answers overnight. What matters is that you take meaningful, measurable steps forward. Lean into your teams, listen to your staff, and reach out for support because you're not alone. At Altura, we are walking this path with you, and we've built the tools and learning to make this change achievable, not exhausting. Remember, this reform isn't just a challenge, it's a chance to improve care, lift team morale, and rebuild public trust. And like all meaningful change, it starts with a mindset of purpose.
Look, I think that's a terrific segue into taking some of the terrific questions that we've had from some of our viewers that have come through this week. And we've been handpicking some of the trending questions. So hopefully your queries are answered. And so the first question is from Deborah, who's an educator. And Deborah's question, Roshmeen, is what are your thoughts on how we can educate management teams on what their role is in supporting an organisation to meet the strengthening standards?
That's an awesome question, and honestly one that often gets overlooked when the focus is on frontline carers and supervisors. At Altura, our view is clear. Management sets the tone. If leadership doesn't truly understand their role in driving quality and safety, the rest of the organization won't either. Hence, Altura's compact modules on the strength and aged care quality standards are about watching and learning that even the executives without a clinical background will find the learnings palatable. You can also get recordings of the webinar to play at your meeting, as there are some strategies discussed that involve key stakeholders.
Our next question is from Philippa, who's a care manager. And Philippa asks, is there any content that's coming from Altura Learning on the Statement of Rights and the Support at Home program?
At Altura Learning, we're actively developing content aligned to both. The Statement of Rights is such a crucial piece under the strengthened standards, and we know providers are looking for ways to embed it meaningfully, not just stick a post up in the reception area. We are creating scenario-based videos that show what these rights look like in everyday practice, covering how to introduce the Statement of Rights to residents and families, how staff can uphold these rights in care delivery, decision-making and conversations, and how to confidently respond when rights are challenged or concerns are raised. Also, with the rollout of the Support at Home program on the horizon, we are also working on a new learning suite to help providers and home care teams navigate the transition to this new model. We are aiming to make these resources bite-sized, scenario-based, and action-focused, so teams can learn on the go and implement straight away.
Thank you. So this is a great question from Nathan, and Nathan's a head of learning, and he asks, will you be covering feeding and nutrition in greater detail to reflect the new standard about nutrition?
Yes, we absolutely are. At Altura Learning, we recognize that nutrition and mealtime management has stepped up as a critical focus under the strengthened standards, especially with the increased emphasis on person-centered nutrition support, dining experience, and malnutrition risk management. We're currently developing a comprehensive suite of new content and updates that go deeper than the basics. And coming up in the next month is the Providing Mealtime Assistance course. Older people in your care may require support with eating and drinking. This course demonstrates how staff can provide mealtime assistance safely while enabling the older person to enjoy their mealtime experience.
That's great. And this question is the final one. It comes from Sophia, who's a registered nurse. And I want to thank Sophia for being brave, because she asks, we need further support on this transition. How can we help further?
This transition is huge, and no one should be expected to navigate it alone, especially with the daily pressures providers are already facing. At Altura, we're really conscious that education alone isn't enough. It's about ongoing practical support to help teams implement, embed, and sustain these changes in the real world. Therefore, apart from the targeted role-specific learning aligned to the new standards, we are offering practical implementation tools such as reflections and checklists. We'll also continue hosting interactive sessions with clinicians, sector leaders, and operational experts to unpack the tricky bits. And we are offering one-on-one teleconsults where you can talk through your organization's current position, identify priority areas for capability uplift, and map out a practical, staged education and support plan.
Thanks, Roshmeen. I mean, that brings us to the end of today's session. And if your question wasn't answered today, we'll be in touch shortly to answer your questions directly. So on that note, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.